All right, finally. Whew. We are streaming. My goodness, there was some technical gremlins just occurred. I meant to go live at 6 and it's nearly an hour late. Apologies if anyone was waiting. Anywho, I made this little beat today and this is what we'll be working on. I've had to reinstall everything, so let me know how the levels are if there's anything amiss. So yeah, I just made this today. Brand new tea tree tune. Cool. Yeah, so that's where we're at with this. Pretty nice. I spent quite a bit of time dialing in the kick and the bass. Spent a lot of time going through some samples, doing the percussion and stuff like that. It's fairly basic, although the percussion does layer up to make some pretty nice kind of sound design bits. So what I'm thinking to do today is get into some kind of like melody, harmony, some like rhythmic, kind of like musical bits, you know, rather than just straight up sound design. Maybe work on the intro a bit, because I feel with like slow tracks like this, it's quite good to have something in for the intro, so that when it comes to the drop, you can like feel you're in the vibe of the tune, you know, you're in the flow of it already. So I think I'll start by doing a bit on the intro. So one sound I did notice that I have in here somewhere, which I thought might be quite useful for the intro as well, is these kind of like chiming sounds. I think they're pretty cool. And these might also be pretty useful for the intro, I think, to make some like ding, to like delineate the different sections. It's a bit noisy. I thought I'd put oh yeah, there's a denoiser on this channel. I'm going to put it on here as well. This is a free denoiser, really good, exceptional value for money, given that it cost the grand total of £0. You can donate to it though, and I would recommend doing so, because this is a great little plugin for free. Obviously, it's not as good as like Isotope RX, which is the creme de la creme of denoisers, but it does the trick. So that's it with, and that's it without. So yeah, it's done a pretty decent job of denoising. Anywho, I'm going to grab these two bits here. Oh, what's this one doing as well? That's a completely different type of sound. So I'm going to grab these two, copy them across to the introduction. So the first drop is at bar 33. I'll just add a locator so that I don't get confused. We're working towards that. Right, so where was the track with this? I think probably this one is going to go here. This one is going to go here. And I'm going to work on some kind of like pads, kind of like harmony, kind of nice chilled out stuff for the intro. I'm just going to check actually that these hit on the beat. Yeah, that one hits on the beat. This one, not so much. So I'm just going to move that back so that it does hit on the beat. So that if I turn the metronome on, it hits on the beat. It's a very slow track, this. 62 BPM, definitely at the lower end of what I do with Tea Tree. So I'm going to get me a MIDI track and I'm going to load up something like some kind of instrument. Let's have a look. Let's go for a Vital. Oh, I hate it when it does that. And let's see what we can, if we can get some kind of like nice paddy. Maybe I start out with a drone, a nice kind of like dynamic drone that's got some movement in it. And then after that, I'll maybe think about some kind of like more harmonic chords and stuff. Altera Project, how's it going? Very nice of you to join. Did you hear what we're working on at the beginning there? I don't think there was anyone tuned in. I'll just put it on while I'm waiting. Or an A. So let's find a nice frequency for the drone. Very much too low. That seems about right. In terms of the frequency, in terms of the pitch of it. Listening on the train to Southampton. Nice. Well, I hope you have a good evening. I wasn't expecting you to tune in. You did say you weren't available this evening. So, very groovy indeed. I've just started this today, and I've just focused on the drums and bass and trying to get that just sounding groovy. Now I'm going to try get some more kind of musical elements coming in. So let's just loop that. Oh, it sounds so gross and farty because we've only got a sawtooth in there at the moment. We're looking for something a little bit more interesting for this. Just go through some tables, some wave tables, so you can find something that's going to be nice. I'm looking for something that's soft, has some nice movement in it. It's fairly it's fairly consistent within that movement. That is what I would call the opposite of soft. This has some promise, still quite harsh, but we can do some interesting things with it to make it a bit not harsh. So I'm going to apply a randomizer to the wavetable just so it moves around. And I want this to be nice and slow, so it moves very slowly. I don't want it to be like crazily jumping around all over the place for like an intro pad. That's not really appropriate. Oh, hello, Morrigan. You coming to join us? But by using this unison to widen it out, I can often soften it a bit. But yeah, this I can tell already this is still way too harsh. I'm looking for something that's a bit nicer. Not quite as in your face. Cool, yeah. So I've put some unison in there. So it basically just doubles up the voice and pans it left and right. Gives it a bit of width. I often find it softens the sound a bit as well. Kind of like this vocode thing. I want to roll off a few of those top frequencies, so I'll put the filter on. Just want to make it nice and soft. Now if I go to the advanced features here, you can see you've got options for unison here. You can have all these different chord options and things like that. And also, you can use it to kind of have different types of spreads. I absolutely love this synth. You know, free synth, vital. It's got all these like insane advanced features. Very, very cool. I'm going to add another wavetable in, I think, because I like that, but I think it needs a little bit something extra. Maybe if I can find something with some higher frequencies, but that's still kind of like nice and soft. Ooh, actually, I've got a better idea. I can use this sample. Not white noise though. That's way too harsh. But yeah, this one has all these kind of like different kind of textures to it. Something like a river might be quite nice. Or not. Sounds kind of gross. That's quite nice. Quite static though. I'm going to try and get some more movement into this. Maybe with something like a chorus. Oh no. Hey! Who's this? Soen appears to be your name. Do I know you by another name by any chance? Welcome to the stream. Glad you've caught it as well. I had some mega technical issues, so I'm way behind my schedule and also extremely stressed. Okay, so actually I'm not going to use this, but what I'm going to do is layer some kind of other textured sample on top, and this will be a lot nicer. Let me just get the chat over here. I thought I had this already. It seems to have disappeared. Right, there we go. Soen. I've got no idea how to pronounce your name. It's got way too many vowels. But thank you very much. I'm glad you're finding the YouTube uploads inspiring. Just kind of getting back into the swing of things. So all the kind of comments saying that you find it beneficial are really good for my motivation to carry on doing this. So I did actually grab a bunch of samples out of my sample library for this, which I've been using here. And I try before streams to have like a bunch of stuff already loaded up, so you don't just watch me going through my sample library. However, on this occasion, I don't have anything lined up per se, but I would like to get some kind of nice texture for the intro here. And what am I thinking? I'm thinking something like these Rydal Cave ones are beautiful. They are binaural though. There are some better binaural. There are better Rydal Cave ones than this. So I went to Rydal Cave in Cumbria a few times to do audio recordings, and it's incredible there. You know, it's like it's got a lake in the cave. Sounds like the reverb is really long. I think it's like 7 seconds or something. I've got an impulse response from there. that I recorded, but I also has all these drips that come down from the ceiling, and you're just surrounded by these like plink, plonk, plonk, plonk things happening constantly. It's really amazing. I just need to find it here. There we go, Rydal Cave. You got these incredible ambiances. Right, because I record it binaurally, that means it's left and right. So I need to have it on 2 tracks, and then I need to pan it left and right to get the full binaural effect. Oh, I was right on top of the microphone then. My apologies if that was a bit loud. So I'm just going to group that, and I'm going to treat them in this group as if they were one recording. Oh, yeah, it sounds great. Right, but this vital thing is way too static. It needs extra bits going on. Probably another waveform, like I said before. I kind of like these kind of square sounding ones. Yeah, maybe that would work. If it was going very slow. Nah, I don't think that's working very well. Well, I've got an idea, actually. There's a really good one here that I use, a wavetable here, that is called Harmonic Series. Really good for things like this. A bit harsh. I'm gonna try and take some of this harshness out of it. I turn it down a bit, but also add a little bit of soft clip into it. This will roll off. This will create a bit of overdrive, like roll off some of the peaks if there's any like resonant frequencies, but it's not too obvious, you know, it's nice and subtle. And this whole thing is going to go through a reverb with the mix on full, so we're just hearing the reverb. Cool. And I think what I'm going to do as well is randomize the level of this. So that just every now and then it kind of comes in and out. It's not too constant. Cool. This is kind of sounding nice for like a nice intro. Kind of the first thing that people hear. These Rydal Caves will definitely want to end before that first bass drop. So we'll just get rid of them. And then what I think is we want a second vital. And in this, we want to like start adding some chords and stuff, I think. Some stuff like that. Yeah, so we'll start off with the basic one that's currently in. And the Rydal Cave recordings, which sound lovely. Maybe you slow them down a bit, because these drops come thick and fast. It's a bit kind of hectic, and what the vibe that I'm going for is that I want them to be kind of this to be chill, this intro. So I switched it to the texture stretch algorithm, and I stretched them out a little bit. This created this really interesting thing. I talked about it last stream about fast Fourier transformations, and this is how a lot of time stretch algorithms for audio work, and that they chop up the audio into like discrete kind of little sections, put spacers, gaps in between the sections, and then kind of like try and blend those sections into each other. And the grain size here will make a great deal of difference to the sound, because you can hear these kind of like little digital tonal artifacts over the top of it, which I kind of quite like. And that's to do with the grain size in combination with the fast Fourier transformation. That's very nice. You need the cave recording for Serum 2 granular stuff. Yes, absolutely. I will, Dane, when I see you next, I need to transfer you basically my entire library of recordings that I've done over the last year, because there is a lot of like good stuff as well. Cool, so this is sounding really nice. What I'm going to do is I'm going to record in some stuff like this with my MIDI keyboard over the top, and hopefully we can come up with something pretty cool for it. That actually went pretty well, I think. Kind of hard, because it's quite a subtle effect, so it's kind of hard to tell exactly. But I quite liked a lot of what I played in that first pass. So let's see if we can't bring this out a bit more, just so I can hear what's going on a bit better. What about if I put an envelope on the filter, just so it opens up, gives it a bit of kind of like pluck. Yeah, this is nice. We can get better waveforms for this though, I think. Very sweet texture. Thank you very much. We're getting there, slowly, slowly. We're... Oh, yeah, nice. This is sounding pretty nice now, though. I'm not sure about this harmonic series one, though. Okay, I like this, but I also would like it not all to be that one sound. I want a different sound as well, so that some of them are that sound. It's kind of very soft, subtle, sits back quite a lot. And then I want something that's a bit more present, you know, that cuts through a bit more. Have an envelope with a slow attack, sweep the reverb off a bit at the beginning of each note so that the cleaner signal sweeps in. Let's have a look what you mean by that. So Dane suggested, first off, having a bit of attack on the envelope, which, yeah, maybe this one could have less attack and then the other one could be a bit more plucky. And then for the reverb, what you'd want is something like this as well, so that... Oops, no. That was the wrong parameter. Whoopsie daisy. On the mix. You do that. So at the beginning of the note, there's not much reverb, but then the reverb comes in after. That's pretty nice, Dane, I gotta say. The problem is with having this mix thing is that when the note hits, the reverb kind of cuts out a bit too harsh. You see what I mean? When the note hits, the reverb that was there previously kind of just immediately cuts. You can do that when you're using a send, but I think with this, it's not going to be as possible. But I quite like how soft it is for now. I might do that with the other one, because this one's going to be more of like a plinky plonky. Yeah, this one I want to be more kind of... Let's have a look. More kind of this style thing. Which does nothing. Excellent. Let's get rid of the filter. Let me just initialize this preset because do you know what? I'm not sure I've ever even... Oh, yeah, that's how we initialize it. It's always different in every synth. So we want basic shapes. That's right. So this time I'm going to use a send to a reverb that I've previously set up. Turn this up an octave. Yeah, something like that is what I'm looking to do. Okay, so I had my basic. What is this? A sine wave. That's right, a sine wave. Which sounded really sweet. You know, nice, pure, single tone. No harmonics on top of that at all. Great to use, but it's kind of overdone and, you know, it's kind of quite simplistic. So just to kind of like spice it up a little bit, what I've tried to do is layer this transient on top. So this is the length of the sine wave. This envelope is the length of the sine wave, and that's up at almost a second. But this envelope, which is controlling this pulse width wave, is down at, you can basically barely hear it, 20 milliseconds. So it's just adding a little something, barely discernible, but just adds a little bit of pluck there. And I'm gonna randomize the cutoff on this. I don't want it to go all the way to the top because that was sounding weird. Let's just get it randomized so it's not, just every now and then it'll just add this little bit of transient texture, very subtle. You know, like this one, this pad that I've got going on. Where is it? Here. I'm just not too sure about it yet, you know. Some of those harmonics are a little bit too resonant. So I need something else. Something that is got soft edges. I don't want it to be squared off, you see on the waveform. There we go, that's a bit nicer. Get it going nice and slow, dial it in, that's nice. Cool, okay, so we've got the pad and we've got these two melody things going on. Oh, Dane says, don't set it fully off, just like 20%. So that was the trick he was talking about, where we use an envelope on the mix. So let's have it about a quarter instead of all the way off. And then let's see what this sounds like now. Still not sure. Still sounds a bit. Okay, I'll do for now. So let's unloop that and we'll go back to the beginning. So I'm going to go through this, and that pad's good. The texture's good. What I need now is to just like edit these two melody bits together. So some of one and some of the other, and hopefully get it sounding pretty good eventually. I really like these two. Those two. Okay. Just trying to keep up with my mind here, because as we're playing, I'm getting the ideas about which ones to delete and which ones to not delete. Okay. Okay. Let's see how that sounds from the beginning. See how it flows. I'm still not too sure about Dane's. How's Dane's tip was sounding. I kind of liked it more subtle. Kind of liked it with more attack. Otter mode. That's a more pronounceable name. And I approve of you making yourself a tea. I think you'll enjoy it a lot more now you've got a brew. So, Dane, it's funny you mentioned me becoming an ambient streamer, because I'm actually going to start a new ambient project, me and Amber, and it's going to be full ambience, like healing frequencies. We've got like singing bowls, we've got a harmonium, we've like we've got our folky kind of whistles and stuff. But there's also going to be a production. So at some point, I'd like to put a day aside for streaming just ambient, making ambient music. But outside of that, I actually have a real aversion to like just making introductions. So I thought on this one, I'd like start with the intro. Well, you know, I made the beat already, but I'd start pretty early on with the intro, just for practice, you know, because I don't get as much practice making these kind of like ambient sections. Cool. Let's see how it's sounding, shall we? Cool. Okay, so what we need here is some filtering of the some filtering of the filter. Yeah, obviously filtering of the filter. Filtering of the filter on some of these first notes, because they are coming in a bit too hardcore. Automode loves the Altera project. Well, Dane is currently under the name Altera project, but all three of us, me, Dane, and Charlie, who's not here at the moment, I don't think, although he said he would be. He's just walking his dog. All three of us are Altera project. Although Dane is, of course, here representing right at this moment. So what am I doing here? In order to get this up, I need to go configure, wiggle this around a bit. Oh no, hang on. This has got automation, hasn't it? I might have to add an additional filter onto this. Let's bring up the second filter. Take all the resonance off it. There we go. So filter cutoff is what I want. This is interesting. Yeah. we've got an album in the works auto mode, although we've been saying that for like about 2 years. We do not work quick, that's for sure. We always have fun producing auto mode. Otherwise, we certainly don't do it for the money, that's for sure. If we were doing it for the money, then we're incredibly bad at it. So yeah, just some of these transients on this. I kind of like the transients on this, but every now and then I just want to roll them off for extra kind of ambient effect. I can use the filter for that. And the whole thing's going through a reverb anyway, so it kind of like irons out any kind of filter sweeps that you might hear. Cool, so this Rydal Cave recording, it's sounding quite nice, you know? It's sounding pretty nice. I often find with intros as well, I can never nail it first time. It's the kind of thing, especially where you're building these kind of like structural things where you're trying to like have like sweeps up and down and stuff, and then have like little kind of moments. I hardly ever nail it in one session. It's a case of like having a go of it, coming back to it later on, getting it closer and closer to where you want it to be. Don't beat yourself up about having to be perfect first time, because you don't. That's one of the great things about producing music rather than playing it, is that you don't have to just be right in the moment. You can sit for days on end perfecting it. I might actually move these back, something like that. It's nice to have a little bit of kind of just let it sit for a bit, you know. Not rush into the music too quick. Something, a skill I really need to learn is just letting music sit, not filling all the space. It can be hard to do sometimes. Cool. So I want to move towards this will be the point at which everything kind of changes, I think. This needs significantly more reverb though to sound good. Where's that weird tone? Can you guys hear it? You pick up on a lot of stuff in headphones that I never pick up on headphones. But can I hear this? There's like a tone. I'll try and sing it. There's a tone on that frequency, which is nasty. So I'll go in and try and EQ it out. I need to try and find it first. That's it, I think. Probably being caused by the grain size on this time stretch algorithm. I wonder if there's a grain size that I could find that would make it like in tune with the rest of the tune. Or I could just have it so low that you can't hear it. Otherwise it will become problematic, even though it's very, very subtle. It all adds up, you know. In psychedelic music, you're often trying to force things to sound as tonal as possible. And the tiny little details add up here, you know. So if you've got a hardly discernible tone, but then you've got 5 of those coming from different instruments, it's really going to get in the way of the purity of the tones that you hear that are in key, and it will sound less pure. So you want to try to get rid of those wherever possible. Yeah, it is still there, auto mode, unfortunately. I think from my panning, what I discovered is it's not just 1 or 2 frequencies. It's like a bunch of different frequencies. It's got like a bunch of harmonics and stuff to that tone. So there's no way I'm going to be able to just EQ it out like that. Oops. So unfortunately, we'll just have to do other workarounds. Cool. So what I was planning on doing before I discovered that, I think it'll be alright for now, is just using this pad, do some automation on this pad so that it kind of like rises towards where we're dropping it out. Pretty nice. Sounded lush actually. Really pleased with this. So there is more to do. So what I want to do is accentuate that movement more. So when the pad ends and there's that chime, that ding, that's going to be a moment of change. So we've had this nice soft pad that hasn't really done much apart from the plinky plonky melodies, and then it's gonna. What I want to do is build up. So rise the tension up to that moment, so that we can then release it with the chime. And what I'm going to use for that is like a reverse crash. So there's a couple of places in my sample library that I find crashes. Ooh. Not here, but that's quite nice though. Let's go for the good old future phonic samples. They're always fantastic. So we go for some crashes. Reverse that. Yeah, you get the. You can probably see the general idea of what I'm going for now. And then we want to crash just after that to accentuate it, because the moment it kind of builds up and then there's kind of nothing. So something like that. I've used this crash a lot, but oh well. And I think all this wants to go to a nice big reverb. Maybe turn it down a bit. Still not there, no. We need something that's a bit longer than the crashes to build up over a longer period of time. Now I'm wondering around about some of the samples of mine that I've got of like ventilation fans and stuff like that. Something that's a bit kind of... something like this, which is also binaural recording, so I'll have to do the same thing that I did with the Rydal Cave recordings that you can currently hear, in that I'll have to go pan left and right. Binaural recording of like an industrial ventilation fan coming out of a factory, I guess, in Manchester. I was just walking around the city centre. Had quite a good time. Cool, so this is too loud, too many frequencies. Let's get a Pro Q on it. Roll off the bottom end. I might even pitch these up a bit as well. That's a gross stretching algorithm though. Let's try the texture one. Usually quite good. No, don't like it. Let's keep it just where it was. Unwarp it. I'll turn them down though, so we can get a better idea of what they're sounding like. Slightly better mix. Probably do a bit extra with the EQ as well, just to bring out some higher frequencies. That's your favourite crash? Yeah, I mean it's the first one in the Future Phonics list of crashes, so it's hardly surprising that that's the go-to one. An eighth note break between the rise and the break gives a nice tension, I agree a lot of the time. I think for this one, I'm going for a nice ambient kind of section, so I don't want to have that like hard break. I have used that in later on here. I will be using the hard breaks in like the. I'll be using the hard breaks in these kind of sections a bit more. Oh, I want to get rid of these. I think when you've got kind of like a lot more kind of like jumping and going on, and you need to delineate your sections, like having those little just like micro breaks is like a really good idea. But I do use that trick quite a lot. And I think on this particular occasion, I want to not use that. Challenge myself to break out of my usual working patterns. Now the question is, do I put a kick drum there? Do I layer a kick drum under that just to accentuate this this moment? And I'm thinking no, but what I might want to do instead is put something a bit less severe than a kick. Because a kick is like the loudest element in your track. It should like absolutely rinse through the entire mix, just like cut right through. And that's not quite what I want to do for this particular moment. I want to have some weight to it, but not all the weight in the world yet. It's a bit early in the track for that. So we'll go for something else. Something like a tom, maybe. Kick drums, basses. Toms. A low tom would be good. And maybe a bass drop as well. Ooh, that would be nice. So that's kind of silly. Right, so we go up to the bass, where I put it all the way up here. And we'll get this. That's it, there's the moment. Find ourselves a nice bass note. We're in A. That's not a bass note. That's a treble note. I think that's it. And in this, I want to pitch shift it down. I want to do a bass drop. Boo. That's the kind of effect I'm after. So it starts on point and then just like rolls off to nothing. Needs to be a bit quicker than that. And it needs to be accompanied by a filter. It needs more filtering. Because there's too many higher frequencies in it currently. Yeah, subtle. Nice. Now I want to roll off the volume as that drops, but I don't want to use this channel volume because I might want to like alter the levels of my bass later on. So I'm going to do it probably in FabFilter. With this. So that leaves me the channel gain later for doing the levels of the bass, you know, mixing the track. Cool. Right, well, I don't really know what to do next. Right, I'm going to listen to the beginning. I might actually move on to the drop next and do some melody and stuff for that. Because, as I said before, doing the whole intro in one go is not my forte. I take multiple bites of the apple, usually, over multiple sessions. Disaster. My cup of tea's run out. Hell yeah. Then we're going to go to the drop next. I feel like the bass and kick still needs a bit of work. Doesn't quite have the low end heft yet. Yeah, so I don't want to get too much into like mixing this bass and drums right now. Although I do kind of, it's really easy to just get drawn into it. Yeah, cool. All right, so just going to rack up some nice synths and play with some melodies, eh? What should we get going on here? I think we will get a... Let's play with a serum first. Not a serum, a razor. So first things first, I'm going to initialize this patch. Cool. So let's see what we can do, eh? I like some of these waveforms that have like these kind of ratio that go up and down the harmonic series, because they create just like random harmonic tones, which is pretty cool. Right, so let's get some MIDI in. Yeah. And I'm going to use arpeggiators to do this. So to do the arpeggiator, what I'm gonna do is just write in a bunch of MIDI notes of. Does that seem like the right? That 100% doesn't seem like the right key to me. I know we're in A. 100%. Let's just try reloading the channel. Sometimes it messes it glitches out like that. Corrupted track can happen sometimes. That's a bit nicer. So yeah, in order to use the arpeggiator to generate melodies, I'm gonna write in long notes of every note that I want to use in the key. So we're in A, and we're going to use the minor third, which is C. This will be a good visual representation for you guys to see what scale I'm using as well. D and E, the fourth and fifth. Cool. So there we go. So that's some notes that we could use. Maybe I will. That was fun. Not all these notes are sitting properly. There we go. Copy them all up. So we got a couple of octaves going on. Right, and now hopefully I can start making the sound less annoying. So to start with, I'm going to go to the MIDI effects, get myself a arpeggiator. Set this to 16ths for now. And set it to random, so it will randomly choose from the notes that we've written in, which is fun. Nice. This generates nice melodies for us, which is great. Absolutely fantastic. Right, let's try messing around with some of these waveforms now, see if we can't make it even more interesting. A bit too crazy, I think. I'm after something a bit more controlled than that. Pretty interesting. So I'm going to assign LFO1 to that, just so it goes up and down a little bit. And change the waveform to random. So yeah, set it to step random, so it goes in random steps, and then try and dial in the speed. You'll be able to see over on the actual parameter itself how fast it's going. So I'm just going to try and dial that in. Good starting point. Obviously, it sounds very static, very basic at the moment. Once we start adding like filters to it, it should get a bit better. Let's have a little play around with the vowel filter, shall we? It's been a while since I've had a go of it. And I'm going to add LFO tool to this singer thing over here, and it cycles between different vowels that you can set. Yeah, that's quite nice. Ooh, okay. So if I click configure, then wiggle this around a bit, it will bring this parameter out to here. So now I can apply the max for live LFO to that parameter, which has got great randomization options. Let's just drop a save because these LFOIs really heavy on the processor. Charlie, good evening. I hope Wiggle, your doggo, is nice and walked, and I hope he's doing well. Oh yeah, sounded pretty awesome. Let's give it a bit of a drive. Maybe a bit of like stereo spread. That is sounding awesome. Really nice moments in that. Obviously, we're all randomizing at the moment. To be honest, guys, I tried to sort out getting my ASIO drivers sorted for the stream, and that is what I think essentially tanked my entire system. It took me an hour after everything was working. I went to get a brew. I came back and everything was not working. And I think it's to do with me trying to get the ASIO drivers. So unfortunately, no ASIO drivers. I'm on DirectX, so playing stuff in to a beat is going to be a nightmare. So I'm going to have to randomize stuff / write it in with the mouse, unfortunately. Hopefully I'll get it sorted for the next stream so I can play my MIDI keyboard. But not today. We're doing randomizing. Cool. We are going to record that in. This is a 6 sound. Can never get that mixed pitch bend oscillator sound good. Thank you very much. Yeah, I do it a lot in Razer. It's really good for that. Some of the waveforms they have in that, and then you just do like cycle through the harmonics at the same time as filtering. You get these crazy effects. Right, let's record some of that in then. Oh yeah, nice. Hey, Cyber! Nice to see you again, eh? Yeah, back on the streaming. It was good to see some of your streams as well, actually, while I was doing my uni. I think I definitely caught one. I think I caught a little bit of another. But I've been meaning to go back and watch them all through at some point. Cool. So that was sounding pretty sweet. Not as many good moments as I'd hoped for in there, comparative to the test run. But oh well. That's what you get with randomization, isn't it? Right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to record another one out, but I'm going to alter all the parameters just a little bit, because just like when it comes to edit, it just gives you kind of like different things to play with. So yeah, let's just alter things a little bit. Change the speed of this. It's nice. Oh, it's nice. Just gonna put it down an octave. I might even put it down another octave, you know. I think it was sounding pretty cool. Maybe even alter the notes that we're using as well, because some of these are not quite working. I'm not sure which ones. Possibly the... Oh. It's really hard to tell which ones I should take out. Maybe I don't need to do that. Maybe I need to take out what. Maybe what I need to do instead is put something like an infiltrator after this to really spice it up. Do like a looper. Add the LFOs to the looper. nice. Nice and glitchy, if that's what you're into. Yeah, that's cool. Very, very cool. Right, I'm going to automate the cut off this comb as well, and then I'm going to record after that, because this is sounding sick. Yeah, right, cool. Let's go ahead and record that. I've kind of moved away from the my melodic intentions for this session, but that's all right. Good to generate a variety of sounds. This wasn't as good as when I did it in practice. I mean, there are some good bits. Cool. I'll do one more and then I'll edit them down so I don't end up with like millions and millions of things. But I'm just going to delete all this. Because what... do I want to delete all this? No, what I'm going to do is turn it off. Just deactivate all the plugins so they're not rinsing my processor. And then I want me a new MIDI track. We're going to go for a Vital. And I want to do more like chordsy kind of stuff here. Like harmony shit. Need a nice waveform for that. God, all these waveforms are so buzzy and tinny. Drink the juice is always a good one. So get some unison going on this. Get a lovely slow sweep of the wavetable, I think. It's still kind of gross. Oh well. What if we get some kind of like... Yeah, we'll get some of that. Invert this LFO. So what happens is I'm going to have this LFO going real slow. What I noticed is that it like part of this wavetable is like quite harsh and part of it's quite soft. So I was thinking maybe every 8 bars if it cycles round. Jib off this random. See, this middle part is quite harsh. And the top part is quite harsh. So what I was thinking was that this could act like a kind of like structural thing. So it accentuates like every 8 bars. Psybass says they sound better down an octave. Was that this? Oh yeah, you're talking about the vital wavetables. Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not trying to do the octave down. You know, the kind of like drone. Oh, it sounds so cool though. I'm trying to do more kind of like mid-range, kind of like. That kind of stuff. So unfortunately, I think what I'll have to do is do some like filtering and stuff. I'll have some like randomization. And also, if I bring in like some chorus. There's some soft clip to take off some of those resonant peaks. Yeah, nice. So that's the MIDI. Hopefully it'll sound alright, although it doesn't really matter too much because I'm just going to like send it to like a reverb. Something like a Pro R full mix. an infiltrator on this as well, shall we? See if we can't cook up something interesting. These like spectral FFT effects can be quite cool with this kind of thing. Yeah, that's really nice. I might actually play some of that in just by hand. Very nice. Lush. Cool. Right, so that was sounding really nice. So I'm going to just record that in. I should have recorded the audio just then, eh? But I'll set it recording and I'll just go to the toilet quickly and then I'll return. Inputs. Forgot to hit the record arm. There we go, that should work now. Thanks, Automode. Yeah, it's turning out really nice, this. Obviously, there's a load of kind of like disparate elements going on, but when we can pull it all together, it's going to be real nice. do a bit of editing in just one sec. Once this is bounced out, I'm going to go through and pull out all the nicest bits. Yeah, it was cool. Right, so I think I had about minus 15 dB reverb on both of these when I recorded them in, so I'll just recreate that. Right. Make sure that's turned off. Turn this on. Let's see what we got. Don't need the sidebar here. Haha, first thing there is real nice. Turn this first bit up. I think it's really nice. Nice. Like this little first bit here. Oh yeah, it's lush. This might sound good if turned up. This first note on the downbeat here sounds really nice. that's all, but pretty sweet. Cool. Quite a few good bits in there. Let's move on to the next one. See how they fit around each other, because it's not just like how good the sounds sound on their own. It's how good they fit in with everything else around them. So that emerges really when you edit down multiple tracks and then try and edit them together. So it will start to emerge with this technique. Oh, yes. Now we're talking. I was a bit afraid we weren't going to get much from this one for a while there. But there are treasures hidden within. Just to make sure all the levels are right. Very atonal. Not that much that's actually good about this track, but the bits that are good are incredible. I like it. Not that bit, this bit. Could do with a bit of extra dBs. Bit. Yeah, nice. These three notes are quite good. That is nice. Well, get rid of that. Cool. So there's no clash. As I was going through, I was noticing if there were any good bits which clashed with the good bits from the last track, and there weren't. So, played together, these should start to fit together in quite interesting ways. Yes. See? These play off each other. Let's try to get this the more tracks you get layered up, you do this process with, the more these kind of like interactions start to emerge. Cool. All right, what I think I want as an additional tool for editing this down is a filter. Oh, like a EQ, I guess. This will just give me a bit more flexibility to play with this part, because it's kind of quite slow and kind of moves quite slowly, but I'd quite like to do some more interesting stuff with it. Just repeat the same trick over and over. It sounds great. Just filter in. Little glitch. Filter in again. This is when the actual tune writing starts to come in. Before I was just generating a palette of sounds. Now I'm actually writing music. Building the journey. These are lovely audio tracks to have to edit. I'm really enjoying this. Just cut it off a bit early. really like this little section here that I'm cutting up. So I'll try and filter it in a bit earlier, maybe by doing that. I want to be able to hear this sound nice and clearly. Maybe I even just do something like that. Do the other way around. Oh, I'll just do that. Make sure I maintain my values. So maybe something like that. So there we go. I like this one here. I want to try and maintain this melody. Approaching the end of the phase. Nice. Oh, let's have a listen to it all together. See how it's flowing. Too much of this chordy stuff though. lovely stuff. Now, this section needs a lot more. I think it's what is there is sounding good, but it's not enough variety yet. I'll need to just keep chipping away at it until I'm happy with it, which will take multiple sessions. It always does. But to be honest, guys, I think we'll listen to it once through from the beginning to where we were there, and we'll call it a day there, I think. I was incredibly stressed when I came on stream today. It took me an hour to get the stream. I was supposed to be on at 6, and at 3 minutes to 6, my entire setup just gave up. I had to reinstall the RME drivers. I reinstalled OBS. It took me an hour to get everything back up and running. But it's been really nice, you know. Over the course of the stream, I've chilled out. I've de-stressed. We've made some really nice, chilled out, mellow sounds, which has helped a lot. I will be back, I think, on Thursday for some Altera music making, which will be a continuation, I think, of what I did last Wednesday. But yeah, like the stream if you've liked it, or dislike it if you think it was rubbish, and subscribe if you would like more music production content geared towards Psy music. Thanks, guys. Let's listen once more through, and then it'll be a goodbye from me.